Refuse to inherit dysfunction. Learn new ways of living instead of repeating what you lived through. Thema Davis. What's up, everybody? Welcome to You Know What to Do, In a Piece with Netta. I'm your host, Netta. And this is a re-recording of my last segment called Ending Cycles for New Beginnings. And I'm re-recording it because I didn't really like the first one after I published it. So to all of my fans and listeners and followers, here goes a new one. And to all of the new listeners, here it goes. So in Ending Cycles for New Beginnings, I will be talking about breaking generational cycles or generational curses. And a generational cycle or curse is basically a toxic cycle in your life. That's whether it can be in a relationship with your family, friends, your partner, yourself, sexual cycles, self-domestications, or even in your financial life. And it's a cycle that was domesticated within you, whether it was from childhood, from your parents, or just society, or yourself through your own defense mechanisms, and from you layering on the mask from childhood. And you just started self-domesticating your own self and had your own self-attachments of who you thought you were and what you think you should do and how you show up to the world. And a lot of us carry on these generational cycles, especially in our relationships. Is how we treat each other, is how we treat ourselves. And I'm talking about the toxic ones. So today I will talk about abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and even financial toxic cycles in our families. So here we go. Okay, so a lot of us have these cycles and we're not even aware. So to even acknowledge, we need to become aware that something is happening, because awareness is knowledge and understanding that something exists or is happening. So when you become aware and see that you're the common denominator and realizing how this cycle is showing up in your life, then you're having these moments like, well, damn, like what's going on? And some people are aware of it, but they don't take accountability or responsibility for it. Like some people may say, oh, well, I got that habit or mindset from my parents and they don't see nothing wrong with it, but complain about certain aspects of their lives, and I'm talking from a place of love and compassion. This is not to persecute anybody, your parents or yourself. No, but this is for you to know where things is coming from. You have to be aware for you to rectify a situation. You have to understand what is going on, because if you're not aware, then how are you going to rectify the issue? How are you going to get to the root, the core of the issue, instead of just cleaning up the surface? You need to get to the root. So, yes, you need to be aware of what's going on. And with love and compassion, like physical abuse, people may have seen their parents be abusive to each other physically, mentally, verbally, manipulation, narcissism, just all around abuse. And it may have trickled down to the children where the parents was abusive to the children. And then, the person ended up doing that to their children and their partner, or vice versa, or they allowed this abuse to be done to themselves and their children. And you're responsible for yourself and accountable for every aspect in your life. So if these things is happening, you need to sit down with yourself like, hey, what's going on? Because you're not supposed to be going through that type of abuse. Yes, things happen to us. And when things like that happens, we need to stop it the first time it happens. And sometimes we don't get it, the first time. And if we don't get it the first time, it's going to continue to happen until we end it and then learn what we needed to learn from that situation. And I've been in an abusive relationship, and I had to learn that I had to learn to love myself, but I wasn't even getting it then. The only thing I knew was I was fighting back, and I was tired. I'm thinking, you have to go through thick and thin in relationships, but, in the back of my mind, I'm like, nah, I need to get out this situation. This is not healthy. This is a toxic relationship. And that's when I started realizing toxic relationships, because all relationships is not toxic. But if you hitting on a person, y'all physically hitting on each other, that's not good at all. Y'all shouldn't be together. Y'all need your own space. Y'all need to go part y'all ways to understand why y'all hitting each other and why you allowing somebody else to put their hands on you. Why can't you speak verbally? You understand? So I was really, adamant about not being in that kind of situation ever again, And you may see things like this in the street, in your household, and it's not okay. I don't think a man should put his hands on a woman and a woman should put their hands on a man. We are somebody else's child, father, mother, sister, brother, auntie, uncle, cousin. Like, we're related to people, and we're one, So that's just not the right way to go. And especially, we have conflict resolution. We can be verbal, not physical, So then we have the manipulation and the verbal, where you projecting how you feel on someone else or somebody did it to you, their failures and their wants and things that their insecurities, and, they'll just project on you and tear you down. You may have had parents or people that may have raised you that have done that. And they don't mean to, It's just they've been hurt by other people who may have raised them and domesticated them. Hurt people. That's ultimately the answer. Hurt people. But we have to learn to forgive and break that cycle. And that was really hard for me, because I'm like, well, I ain't hurt that person, so why do I have to deal with their stuff? And in life, we have to learn to master ourselves. I feel like that is the key to life, is to love unconditionally and learn to self-mastery, master our emotions, master how we do things, master our mind mentally, and know who we are. So you have to go through experiences, and you learn from these experiences. Now, when you're not learning, you're going to continue to go through it differently. It could be with a different person, just a whole different situation. And you have to forgive. I can even talk about that, a cycle of not forgiving, I had that with myself personally, just holding on and not letting go. So, and let's talk about sexual trauma and abuse. A lot of people have had that. And some people have been sexually abused by their parents or their caretakers, or just, within their families. And sometimes it was, rectified. The child was maybe taken out the house or given to other family members or whatever. Or sometimes if the child did speak up and it was said to the family, it was like it was swept under the rug, like it was a kept secret, like it was an embarrassment to the family, when it shouldn't have been. and the child was scolded sometimes, or sometimes they was basically tore down. They was called, being promiscuous or just being fast. And I know from a female perspective, or sometimes in the male, I know there's a lot of males that this has happened to, and they haven't came out and spoke their truth, or they don't feel like they're able to express their feelings or speak about what has happened to them, because they feel like if they express their feelings, they feel like they're less than a man, or it questions their sexuality when they're the victim, and people, during times of trauma, you build this armor and you have this defense mechanism, and you build these different lies in your head that you're holding on to, or you think something may result in a similar way that, or get a similar response from your family because you've been scolded before, or you just believe that your family won't believe you, And sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not, you have to be open, but for the families that weren't receptive to it, like, you have to be open, and you have to have compassion, and you have to have, just unconditional love and an open heart to even deal with that type of situation, because of the person, the victim that it happened to. They don't even know what's going on in their head, and they feeling probably numb. And the predator, it could be an adult or it could be a child. And when it's a child, now you're trying to figure out, where did they learn this from? Did it happen to them? And then when it's an adult, it's like you most likely, whether it's a child or an adult, you would be angry. But you have to try to understand, like, what is going on? Did it happen to this person? Not saying that they shouldn't have consequences come to them, because it's not right. But I also feel like, as far as consequences as well, these people need help, because hurt people, so this could have been done to other people, or they might have a psychological power issue as well. Who knows? You need to get to the root of the issue and understand, like, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? A lot of times you'll hear this has been going on in cycles in family, and nobody ever speaks up. And if you are the person who has had sexual trauma, speak up. It took me about 20 years to tell, my mom and my grandmother. So, and I told them probably like a 5-year span difference. I told my mother first, then my grandmother. So, and it was hard, because it happened with 2 different people on several occasions. And I tell you, like, I had a imaginary friend around that time, so I was really grateful and send my gratitude for that, because I could have went left. I could have hurt other people because I was hurt. But I never had that thought in my mind anyway, because I knew that it was wrong. So, yes, we have a lot of sexual trauma that's within families, in the household, Like I said before, sometimes it's the parents, sometimes it's the siblings, sometimes it's the aunties, the uncles. Yes, there's just as much as women doing it as men. A lot of that is not spoken of a lot in society. I feel like there is equal women just as much as men, because I have both a female and a male. So even though they both was in their teens, but they knew better. But it happens. Both female and male. So it doesn't have anything to do with sexual attraction, because I believe that a lot of people think that when you have sexual trauma or if you get raped or something of that nature, it has to do with having a sexual attraction. And I don't believe that that's the case, or that's not the case with everyone, you know, especially when it comes to children. So, yeah, I feel like that type of sexual trauma, those cycles, that is the last thing that needs to be swept under the rug, because your children is supposed to be able to come to you and tell you everything. You know, they're not supposed to be in fear thinking that they're going to get in trouble, and or that they did something wrong. You know, you have to ask your kids questions, or whomever, you know, children you may be raising, or, you know, you may not have children. Ask your nieces and nephews, you know, speak with their parents and things like that on, you know, talking to your nieces and nephews that way. You know, if you have that close-knit family, so where y'all tell everybody everything, and, you know, y'all talk about things like that. And just don't ever sweep under the rug, you know, and have an open heart, especially if it's like within a family and it's hard to hear one of your children, you know, touch another, or one of another family member touched another family member. Like, you're going to get mad. You don't know how to feel, but just breathe before you go into anger or any type of attack mode. Just breathe, because there is something that is not right, you know, and putting anger into it is not going to help. You know, putting that anger energy and persecuting the victim is not going to do it either. You know, they didn't do anything wrong. They wasn't at the right time or the right place, or, you know, or they shouldn't have been somewhere, or you know, they fast, or they think they grown, or it's just, that does not matter at all. And it just doesn't matter. And if you was treated that way and it happened to you, break that cycle. Like, remember how you felt, you know. And if you've never been in that predicament and you still react that way, just imagine the worst thing that you can think that ever happened to you, and how somebody reacted in your family, or somebody that you thought that you were able to speak to, and they reacted the total opposite of how you thought they would, and it hurt your feelings and it made you shut down. You understand? So, yes. In relationships, I definitely was attracting unavailable men, and I couldn't understand it, and what I wasn't understanding, what I wasn't learning. And I laugh at it now, because I was basically getting signs like love yourself, love yourself. And I always been in relationships where I was a little more mature than that person, and a lot of the guys, they had mommy issues. And it was funny, because I had my own issues with my dad and, you know, my parents and things like that. And it was like, we're looking to reparent each other through each other, you know, in a weird way, if that makes sense. And a lot of us do that with each other. We're looking for our father in a man, you know, outside of our father, or we're looking for that parent or that mommy figure to nurture us, when we have to reparent ourselves, and we have to nurture ourselves. You know, that's not anybody else's job. That was our parents' job. And if they fail to do that, you have to heal your inner child yourself, you know, or whatever aspect of your inner child that you need healing. That's your responsibility now as an adult. So we have to break those cycles as well, because that's causing a clash in our relationships. Now, if you're doing healing and that person is doing healing, and you're aware of what your issues are, and if you can get together and say, put on a table, boom, this is my issue, this is where I'm at, this is what I come to the table with, and the person tell you, and you build on that relationship, because a relationship does take work, you know, and you have to understand conflict resolution, not to say that you're right, but to get on a common ground and to understand that other person's perspective. Because if you truly love somebody unconditionally and you really want to be in that relationship and you feel like it's worth being in, then you have to understand you being right is not, that has no substance at all. None. And you have to look at the other person's perspective, you know. And sometimes you're going to be right and you know you're right. Just let it go. You know, it's easier to just to let things go. And unless you're in a relationship where it's always toxic and it's controlling, then you shouldn't be in that. You know, it cycles to where people have this image of where they feel like they have to be married and have children by a certain age, or they need to put on this front for their family because and their family stay together no matter what. You know, a lot of people suffered, and suffering is a choice, and struggle in a relationship and stayed with people that they didn't even want to be with just because they had the house and the children, you know. And your children see that when you're unhappy, and your children will follow what you do, not what you say, you know. Now if you lead with your actions, if you walk your talk, boom, you good. But if you're not walking your talk and you're doing the total opposite, then what is your child supposed to do? They're like, well, mommy always say this, but she do this, so I'm going to follow her, you know. So a lot of us get married for financial, or to have children and thinking our children will be good financially, but what about the emotions? Or they know a person would take care of them financially, but what about your emotions? Do you even like that person? Is this somebody that you would want to stay with? You know, or people marry people are together because of physical fizzles out. That doesn't last, you know. And some people marry because of an image, you know. It looks good. It looks good on paper. It looks good to the world, but you could be very unhappy at home, and you will suffer because you're trying to keep up an image. That's not real love. And to show your children that, if you do have children, how are they supposed to really understand what love is, you know? And then you're resentful. All of what you're feeling, you know, it spills out into your household. And whether you have children or not, you know, your family sees that. It shows up in different aspects of your life. Like, you can't hide that, especially when your soul ain't having it and you already faked it, and your defense mechanisms and that mask falls off, or you're going to get broken down, and you're going to have to look in the mirror, and it's not going to be anybody else's fault but your own, because you chose to take that step into wearing that mask and putting on that mask and having this false Aesop fable, you know. So, and it's fairy tale. A lot of us want to have that fairy tale, and that's not what it is. You know, it does take work. And a lot of us have negative connotations about women or men. You know, a lot of us be like, oh, men ain't this, women ain't this. And we got children. Some of y'all got children. You know, y'all got sons. Y'all have daughters. So if y'all telling your son men ain't crap or something like that, how is your son supposed to feel? You know? Or if you have this negative connotation about women and you have a daughter, you know, as a mom, how is she supposed to feel about herself? And how is she supposed to look at you? And vice versa for a father to have negative connotation about women. But, you know, he has a daughter and be like, well, my daughter don't count. Or, no, how is she supposed to look at herself? Or how is she supposed to look at her mom for even being with you? Or how is your son supposed to look at his mother? Or look at other women? You know? And we just have to be better with each other and be better to ourselves. A lot of us don't have a good self-image either. You know, we put up these masks. And I talk about that on my segment, my first segment, and my second segment as well. And just rebuilding my self-image because I had low self-esteem, you know, and I wasn't loving myself, and I didn't know what that looked like. And it's okay because I'm learning and I'm continuing to learn, you know, and build that foundation and solidify it. You know, it took me to go through all these experiences to make me who I am and to find in myself. And, you know, if we learn through all these domestications and peel back these layers, we can bring a new beginning. You know, be that new mirror instead of being a reflection of those old cycles. You could be the reflection of the new beginning in that cycle with you. Don't pass it on to your children. Don't pass it on any aspect of your life. Just like some people live in fear or have like the survival mechanism, like the survival mindset of, oh yeah, we know how to survive. Or you live in fear. Living in fear will stagnate you. You know, living in fear will. I used to live in fear, but I used to be optimistic at the same time. You know, I used to be, you know what, pessimistic, and I said that before, and I don't know, it was where I always knew that I would be in business for myself, but I didn't know how, you know, and my why wasn't big enough, and I just thought that I had to like struggle and survive and all this other things to get where I needed to be, when you have to do the inner work for your external to look better. It's all internal. It's not you handle the outside, then you go in. No, you handle the in, then you go out. You know, nothing from the outside affects you on the inside. It's whatever's triggering you on the inside will affect your external. So, yes, this whole survival mode, some people are okay with just surviving instead of thriving, you know. Surviving is just making it. You know, some people just know how to just make it, when you can go far on beyond that and thrive and grow and just be your best self and tap into your potential that you never have ever tapped into before. You know, that doesn't end with your family. That ends with your old self. You know, it starts and begins with you. And yes, it does end with your family. It doesn't start with your family, I mean. So it starts and ends with you. You know, you are in control of your life in every aspect of your life. So if you have negative, you know, or toxic cycles, should I say, and you are starting to become aware, yes, we've been domesticated since childhood. Our parents raised us to be like them. They didn't have no instruction manual. They was only doing what they knew through experience. That's it. And we just have to forgive. A lot of things we have to forgive and we have to let go. A lot of things that was said or done, you can forgive them and not have people around your circumference. You can love them from a distance. You know, a lot of times we change. Everybody don't change, you know, and you can't change nobody either, you know. So you change. If that person don't change around, that's around you, then they will fall out your life. And for the people that grow with you, you know, more power to those relationships. That's a good thing. And I wanted to talk about something else, like loyalty, you know, and like friendships and things like that. You know, a lot of people are naturally just loyal by default, and that could be a cycle too, because you can have opportunities to where it's the opportunity for you, but it's not for your friends or your family or something, and you don't take it because you're thinking you're being loyal. No, you don't do that. You take that opportunity, and then when you get where you need to be, then you could put everybody else on board if they still with it, you know, or if they are willing to do the work to get where they need to be. If not, if people are telling you don't do this, don't take that opportunity for yourself to better yourself, then you don't need to be around those people. Because there's people like that as well. And that's a cycle that sometimes people only want you to grow as much as they do. They don't want you to surpass them. And that's just their own insecurity. You know, there's a lot of families and friends, and there's a lot in cycles, and there's a lot of people in different communities that it happens. And you can see it in every community, in every aspect of society, you know. And it's just, be loyal to yourself, you know. You want to be loyal to somebody, see that their actions align up to your vibration. You know, we're a radio station. You have to tune to that high vibration, that high frequency. You cannot lower yourself for anybody at all. So just keep growing and talk about different things. Talk about these cycles. And if somebody's not ready to talk about it, then let them be. Meet people where they at, and you heal by yourself. And then if they're ready, then have that open heart, loving conversation with them. If they ain't never ready and they always in denial and things of that nature, then leave them. Just love them from a distance. You know, that person has something that they holding on to. You know, it's hard to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is strength. But a lot of people think it's a weakness. I used to be one of those. I used to be like, no, I ain't expressing my feelings. But when you express your feelings, you let go and you allow people to see how you really feel. Because sometimes when you're not vulnerable, you could come off as cold-hearted. And then people is like, why are they so like that? When really you just protecting yourself. That's just your shield. And this could happen to you in plenty of relationships. You just got to be observant. But yes, that's what I wanted to talk about today, and just redo this segment and just know that we have to take better care of ourselves. We have to take better care of each other. We have to respect each other. Respect yourself first. Respect each other. Talk better to each other. Act differently towards each other. You know, our friends, our family, ourselves, our partners, our kids, just society as a whole. Let's do things differently so that we can get a different result. And go within, you know, do a meditation. Just sit down quietly, write. You know, sometimes in our busy schedule, we may not find time, but find the time, because that will stop from you being a ticking time bomb, and it will stop the cycles. You become aware. So, again, thank you for listening. I hope this helps someone. And I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I will catch y'all on the next episode. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace.